Hello to you and happy Saturday. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shea. Guess what? It's time to track the tropics. We've been keeping a really close eye on the tropics this week because, of course, we had that tropical disturbance, that Gulf low that pushed into the north central Gulf and really close to the southeast Texas area yesterday. So that started to bring waves of rain to parts of Houston, Galveston, but it never really turned into a tropical depression or tropical storm or hurricane. So we were fortunate there, but it's still bringing rounds of heavy rain. However, as we go back to the beginning of this hurricane season, at least for the Atlantic basin, we have had some action. So let's go back to the month of June. We had Tropical Storm Andrea, a weak and short-lived system over the central Atlantic in June. Tropical Storm Barry, unorganized but brought flooding to southeastern Mexico in June. And 4th of July holiday weekend, we had Tropical Storm Chantal make landfall around Litchfield Beach in South Carolina that brought some flash flooding issues for the holiday weekend. So we kind of had fairly quiet conditions after that, but of course over the last few days we've been monitoring this weak tropical disturbance, this Gulf low that has been creeping closer to the Houston area. It finally decided to move on land, move inland on yesterday, which was Friday. So that means there's no additional chance for further development into a possible tropical system. However, it is still bringing rounds of heavy rain, strong and at times severe storms to parts of the Gulf Coast, and we still have that isolated flash flood risk for parts of the Gulf through the next couple of days, really through the weekend. So keep in mind that even though a system may be on the weaker side, a lot of impacts can still be felt. So here are the 3 storms that we've had to deal with in the Atlantic basin so far for this hurricane season. Andrea, which was a tropical storm, Tropical Storm Barry, and of course, Tropical Storm Chantal. We were thinking last week and even this week, could we have Tropical Storm Dexter forming in the Gulf? But it never happened. It didn't get strong enough. But the 2 systems that we've dealt with, the disturbances last week and this week, have brought a lot of heavy rain, but they were very disorganized and never really got their act together in the Gulf. So that's good news. So we're still waiting for Tropical Storm or Hurricane Dexter, and then the next name on the list would be Aaron, Fernan, Gabrielle, and then we go all the way down to Wendy. Hopefully we won't have to use all of these names, but there is the potential. We're getting closer and closer to the month of August. Usually June and July, historically, we don't have a lot of action out there in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, or the Gulf. But when we get to August, and especially September, that is when things really start to ramp up, typically. In fact, August 11th is the average date of the first Atlantic Basin hurricane. So we're really going to start to monitor things really closely, especially possible disturbances coming off the west coast of Africa once we start to get rid of more of that Saharan dust that's been kind of limiting development so far this season. So to sum it up, we've had 3 named storms this season, 0 hurricanes, 0 major hurricanes. An average season would typically bring us 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Colorado State University meteorologists actually, they did their research and they came up with the numbers that they're expecting for this hurricane season, thinking that we'll have, when it's over with, 16 named storms, 8 of those becoming hurricanes and 3 becoming major hurricanes. So it could still be a fairly busy season. The numbers that CSU are predicting are actually a little above the norm. So just because we haven't had a hurricane just yet, don't let your guard down. Now is the perfect time to make sure you have the insurance you need, make sure those insurance papers are safe in case your home floods, and also make sure you have your other emergency gear in your hurricane preparedness kit. Great time to do that when it's quiet and not right before hurricane is coming. Then you have to scramble and panic and you run out of time. So do it now while things are quiet. You can see a wider view of the Gulf. We'll show you over the last 24 hours that we've had numerous downpours, those tropical bursts of rain and thunderstorms that have been impacting the Texas Gulf Coast, Louisiana Gulf Coast, all the way over to the Florida Gulf Coast. And that was due to the fact that that weak tropical disturbance, that Gulf low, was in the process of making landfall. So this takes us all the way back to yesterday afternoon when it was making landfall. Now it is pushed inland, but the moisture associated with it doesn't just disappear after it moves inland. So even after it moves on land, it's still going to have the potential to bring quite a bit of rain. So here's the good news. If you're going to be out and about enjoying your weekend across Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Houston, Corpus Christi, we're not expecting 10, 12, 15 inches of rain. Over the next few days, most models showing maybe an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain, maybe some isolated 3 to 4 inch total. So that's why we're thinking a slim chance for some flash flooding out there. Can't rule out a flash flood warning or flood advisory or two along the coast over the next few days. And in fact, the Houston area, including the Woodland, Sugarland, Pearland, Galveston, still under that 1 out of 4 risk for that street flooding, that flash flooding today all the way through tonight. It goes away for tomorrow, but please be careful if you end up in one of those downpours. Now let's look ahead to next week and see if we have anything to be concerned about. Well, we are still closely monitoring the disturbances coming off of the west coast of Africa, and our Fox weather model, Tropical Edition, does show some clusters of showers and storms rolling off that west coast of Africa. This will be Monday evening. Now, we do still have a fair amount of Saharan dust out there, so that will likely help to limit development, and the disturbances would have to go all the way across the Atlantic to even have a chance of getting close to the U.S. So the chance is low, but of course, something to watch. But the good news right now, the National Hurricane Center thinking at least over the next week or so, 5 to 7 days, no tropical action expected for the Atlantic, for the Caribbean, or for the Gulf. So hopefully we can keep things quiet for the next week, but I have a feeling as we get further and further into August, things will start to get more active. One reason we're thinking the hurricane season will get more active, well, it's the very warm water temperatures out there. Middle to upper 80s across much of the Gulf, the western, southwestern Atlantic, temps in the 80s, and really for the western, northwestern parts of the Caribbean, very warm, steamy waters well into the 80s. So that warm water acts as fuel for these tropical systems to really blow up, get going, and stay on the strong side. So as long as we got that very warm water, and if we have conditions where we don't have a lot of wind shear in the upper levels, then we can see more development. So for the rest of July, there's not much left, but for the last few days, you can see the areas, the hot spots, if you will, of the basically areas where we could see some potential development, a possible development we'll call it, and that's going to be the yellow shaded areas, and it includes the Houston area, really the northwest Gulf, western Atlantic, and western northwestern parts of the Caribbean. Chance for tropical storms, hurricanes starts to increase a good bit as we zoom into August. Notice the yellow areas switch to orange and even the red color. So that indicates a likely to more likely chance for these tropical systems in August for the western Atlantic, and even a spike in that chance for tropical formation in the north central Gulf. Look what happens in the Gulf for September. This is the month usually where we reach the peak or the height of hurricane season, and the central eastern portion of the Gulf definitely more likely to see some of these tropical systems, but the biggest shot would be the western Atlantic, and of course we will have a higher chance of those tropical systems rolling off of the west coast of Africa. So a lot to monitor over the coming months. Just because we may have a little lull in the action right now, keep in mind that things are likely going to get going and get busy pretty quickly. So we are at the end of July. Notice mid to late August and especially September, see the huge spike in named storms, including hurricanes. So we will have to watch things closely, but enjoy the quiet time. Use that time to prepare for any potential tropical system. And remember, stay safe out there, and we'll be tracking it daily. So keep checking in for any updates on what's happening with your tropical conditions.